Hey everyone, we're here to work on number 9 notes, multiplying polynomials. So what we're going to do today is very similar to what we did on our last lesson, where we got to choose between the box method or double distribution. And we're going to do that same thing today. But before we use the box method or do double distribution, we want to make sure that the coefficient, so this first one's going to be coefficient, or the monomial in front of your parentheses, you have to distribute that. And when you distribute it, you only distribute to the first parenthesis. Okay, and then from there you can use your method of choice. You can use the box method or you can do the double distribution. Okay, so let's look at this first one. So if I'm looking at this 2 times x plus 3 and I'm multiplying that by x minus 5, the first thing I want to do is distribute this 2 to both those pieces. So 2 times x is going to give me 2x and 2 times 3 is going to give me a 6. So those are going to go in your first set of parentheses. And then my second set of parentheses are going to stay exactly the same. Okay, once I have that, I'm going to use, and like I said, you can use the box method or the double distribution. The first two are going to use their box method. So let's look at this with the box method. I have 2 piece by 2 piece. So I'm going to go ahead and use my 2 by 2 box, or one that kind of looks like a window. So I'm going to make that right here. And then that first set is going to go right here. My second set goes right there. Okay? So, excuse me. I have 2x and 6. And then I have x and minus 5. I'm going to go ahead and put my coefficients and my powers in. And then I just need a power right here. Okay? So if I'm looking at this first box right here, I want my 2x to the first times my 1x to the first, and 2x to the first times 1x to the first is going to be 2x to the second. Okay, let's say I'm going to go in this one. That's 6 times 1x. That's going to be 6x. And then I want this box. So it's a negative 5 times 2x. That's going to give me a negative 10x. And finally, I want this last one, which is right here. And that is negative 5 times 6, and that's going to give me a negative 30. Okay, so from there, I'm going to go ahead and start with my highest power, which is 2x squared. And then my 6x and my 10x, those both have an x on them. So those are going to, it doesn't matter which order you put them in. So I'm going to say plus 6x minus 10x and then minus 30. Okay, when I look at these, I have this 6x and this 10x. Both of those have an x on them, so they can be combined. So I'm going to say 2x squared. It's actually going to be minus 4x because that 10 is negative. So 6 minus 10 is going to give me a negative 4x and then minus 30. And then you're done. Okay, so let's try the box method with number 2. Okay, so we're going to do the same thing. Our first step is to distribute my 3 to my 2x and my 3 to my negative 5. So 3 times 2x is 6x, and 3 times negative 5 is going to be minus 15. That's going to go inside a parenthesis, and then my next one stays the same, x minus 3. Okay, when I'm looking, I have a 2 by 2, so I'm going to make that kind of windowy box. Okay, and one set is going to go down the side, and my other set is going across the top. So I have 6x and minus 15, and then I have x and minus 3. I'm going to do my coefficient and my power, and then this one needs a power. Okay, if I start and want to multiply in my top left box, I have 6x times 1x. That's going to give me a 6x squared. Okay, if I do my bottom left box, Negative 15 times 1 is going to give me a negative 15, and it's a 1x, so I'm going to throw that x in there. And now I'm on my top right, negative 3 times 6x is going to give me a negative 18x. And now my bottom right, negative 15 times negative 3, that's going to give me a positive 45. Okay, the reason I didn't color these boxes in is I want to show you that typically these diagonals have the same term, okay? They both have an x on them. So I can combine those and I don't have to write them all out. I'm going to start with my highest power, which is my 6x squared. And then either in your head or with your calculator, you're going to take that negative 15x and you can do one of two things. You can say negative 15x plus negative 18, or if you just want to say negative 15 minus 18. Those would give you the same answer, and the answer is going to be negative 33, and they both have an x, so it's going to stay an x. That x does not change at this point. And then that 45 is positive, so I'm going to say plus 45. Okay, so that is the method that we used when we did the box method. These next two we're going to do is double distribution. Okay, so the first thing I want to do is distribute this x to both of those first pieces. So when I have x times x, that's going to give me x squared. When I have x times 3, that's going to give me a 3x. It's all positive, so that's going to go in parentheses. And then my other one stays the same, so x plus 4. Okay, now when I double distribute, I'm going to take my coefficient times my coefficient and add my powers. So first thing I'm going to do is 1x squared times 1x. That's going to give me 1x to the third. I added my powers. Now I'm going to take that 1x squared times that 4, and that's going to give me 4x squared. And they're positive, so I'm going to say plus 4x squared. Okay, so we distributed our 1x squared and our 3x both to that second set of parentheses. Now we're going to distribute our 3x to both of those too. So I have 3x times 1x, and that's going to give me 3x squared. And now I have 3x times 4, and that's going to give me 12x. Okay, when I look, both of these two in the middle have x squared in them, so I can combine those. So I'm going to start with my highest power, which is that 1x to the third. 4x plus 3x, 4x squared plus 3x squared is going to give me 7x. Remember that squared stays a squared, and then we're just going to plop on that 12x at the bottom. Okay, let's try one more double distribution in case you really like that. So first thing I'm going to do is distribute this 2x to that x. That's going to give me 2x squared. Now I want to distribute that 2x to this 4. They're all positive, so I'm going to say plus, and that's just going to give me an 8x. Okay, so that's my first set of parentheses. My next set is going to be x minus 9. Stays the same. Okay, I'm going to do my first to my first. Put my coefficient and my power. So those are going to give me 2x to the third. I'm going to do my 8. Oh, sorry. No, I'm not. Burp. Got a little aggressive on that. I'm going to do my 2x squared to my 9. So 2x squared to 9 is going to give me a negative 18. And it's going to be an x squared. And now I'm going to double distribute on the bottom. So that 8x is going to have to be distributed to this 1x. So 8x times 1x is going to give me a positive 8x squared. And now I'm going to take that 8x to that negative 9, and that's going to give me a negative 72. Because that 8 has an x on it, you have to have that x right there. Okay, when I look, both of those middle terms have the same power, so I can combine those. So I'm going to say 2x to the third. Negative 18 plus 8 is going to give me a negative 10x. And because they had seconds, it's going to stay a second, minus 72x. Okay, so that's how we learned it so far when you only had like 2 by 2, 2 terms by 2 terms. Okay, now we're going to move on to the next page where you have more terms. Okay, so you can do one of two things. You can use the box method, or you can do the double distribution. The first one we're going to look at, we're going to use the box method. Okay, so let's use that box method. When I'm looking at this piece, this is a 2 piece, so I know I need 2 rows, and this is 3 pieces. So I know I need 3 columns. So I'm going to do 2 rows and 3 columns. So instead of making like that kind of window shape, I'm going to make more of a rectangle. And right going horizontal, those are going to be my 2 rows. So the red pieces are going to go right here and right here. And then to make the columns, I'm just going to split this into thirds. So the first one I have, I'm going to do this, this, and this. Okay, so right away, this is going to be my X, and this is my 2. And I'm just going to go ahead and put my 1 and my 1 on there. And then I'm going to go across the top. This is my X squared, and I'm going to put my coefficient in. This is my 3X, put my power in, and then this is going to be my -5. Okay, we're going to do the same thing. I'm not going to color in your boxes, but I think at this point you guys know like where I'm going with them. So if I have 1x squared times 1x, that's going to give me 1x to the third. I want this one right. There we go. Okay, if I'm going horizontal going across, so I'm in the middle top, I have 3x to the first times 1x to the first. That's going to give me 3x to the second. And if I'm on my very right side, I have -5 times 1x. That's going to give me -5x. Now I'm on my bottom left. I have 2 times 1x squared. That's going to give me 2x squared. I'm in the middle, so I have 3x times 2. That's going to give me a 6x. And then that very last bottom right box, -5 times 2, that's going to give me a -10. Okay? When you look at these ones, and this is why I didn't highlight them right now or highlight your boxes, notice that these 2 right here both have an x squared. So we can combine those ones because of the x squared. And then also notice that these 2 have an x on them, so we can combine those. Okay, so I'm going to start with my highest power, which is 1x to the third. And then if I have 2x squared plus 3x squared, that's going to give me a 5x, and my squared stays the same. And then if I have 6 minus 5, that's going to give me a +1. So I'm going to say +1. They both have an x, so I'm going to keep that x. And then -10, I'm just going to subtract 10. So let's look at number 6. We're going to do the same. When I'm looking at my boxes, I have a 2 box by a 3 box. So I'm going to do that same kind of long rectangle, and I'm going to split it in the middle for my rows, and then I'm going to make those 3 columns. So here goes split in the middle, here goes my columns. Okay, this is my red piece, here's my blue pieces. So I have x, it doesn't have a coefficient or a power, so I'm going to get those on there. And then I have -4. And then I have 2x squared, 3x. I'm going to put that power on. And then this is a +4. Now we're going to do the same thing. I'm going to go ahead and multiply them. 2x squared times 1x is going to give me 2x to the third. I'm going to do all the top row right now. So 3x times 1x is going to give me 3x to the second. And 4 times 1x is going to give me 4x. Okay, bottom row starting on the left, -4 times 2 is going to give me a -8x squared. -4 times 3 is going to give me -12x. And -4 times a +4 is going to give me a -16. Okay, now I'm going to look. Do I have any powers that are the same that I can combine? So this is squared and this is squared, so I know I can combine those. And this is an x and that's an x, so I can know I can combine those. So I'm going to start at my very top with my highest power. And I'm going to say 2x to the third. If I take -8 and I add 3, that's going to give me a -5x. They're both squared, so I'm going to keep that squared. And -12 and I add 4, that's going to give me a -8. And I have an x. And then I have -16. And I went from highest power to lowest power, so I know I'm done. Okay, let's look at number 7. Number 7, we're going to use the double distribution method. Okay, so the first thing, I don't have any coefficients that I need to distribute into the problem, or a monomial before the parenthesis that I have to distribute. So I'm just going to go ahead and do the double distribution. So I have 2x, and I have to multiply that by 4x squared. So 2x times 4x squared is going to give me 8x to the third, and it's the third because this has a little power 1 right there. Okay, now I'm going to take that 2x and I'm going to distribute it to that 5x. So 2 times 5 is 10. And they're both positive, so I'm going to say plus 10. And then I have, between the two of them, I have 2 x's. So I'm going to say x squared. And then lastly, I'm going to take this 2x, I'm going to distribute it to the -1. So that's going to give me -2, and I still have that x. Okay, so the next one I'm going to do is this middle one right here. That 3, that's kind of in the middle of the whole problem, but it's the second part of the first set of parentheses. So I'm going to take this 3 and I'm going to multiply it by 4x squared. So 3 times 4 is going to give me a positive 12, and I still have x squared. Now I want to take that 3 times that 5, and I get 15x. So I'm going to add 15x. They're all positive. And then I'm going to take that 3 times that -1, and that's going to give me a -3, so I'm going to put that on the end. Okay, now I have to go through and combine my like terms. So by combining my like terms, I'm going to start with my highest power. My highest power is 8x to the third, so I'm going to start with that. And then anything with the power of 2 is going to come next. So this is a positive 10x squared, and this is a positive 12x squared. So together, they're going to make a positive 22x squared. So I'm going to say plus 22x squared. Okay, now I'm going to combine anything with just an x on it. So this one has a negative in front of it, so it's going to be a -2, and this one has a positive 15. So it's a -2 plus 15. That's going to give me a positive 13x. And then finally, I'm just going to plop that -3 on the end. Okay, so that would be double distribution. This last one that we have here, notice when we look at this, we have a 3 by 3. And I would tell you, you can use either method, and you're welcome to use either method. But when I do these, I really like the box method because it lines up my similar terms. So I'm going to go ahead and do the box method one more time on this one, just because this one, I just really like the box method for the way it lays it out. And then I don't have to do quite as much thinking. If you want to attempt it, doing the double distribution, go for it. You are welcome to do that. And then, but if you get stuck, know that the box method is always an option too. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and put my rows in, and now I put my columns in. My first one's going to go down this side, and my other one's going to go across the top. Okay, so I have an x squared, and there's really a 1 in front of that. I have a 4x, and I have a -7. And then I have an x squared, there's really a 1 in front. I have a 3x, and I have a 5. Kara, is that you?
Yes.
Kara, I'm making a video, so you gotta be quiet. Also, did you wipe the cat's paws off? It's so muddy out, you can't just let him in. Sorry about that, I'm making a video at home, and my daughter. You need to wipe the cat's paws off. I'm also making a video. You're in the video right now. Say hi.
Hey everyone.
Okay, so we're gonna do 1x squared times 1x squared starting at that top left. 1 times 1 is 1. If I have x squared times x squared, that's gonna give me x to the 4th. I'm gonna do the whole top row. So I have 3x times 1x squared. That's gonna give me 3x to the 3rd. And 1x squared times 5, that's gonna give me 5x squared. Okay, now I'm going to do the middle row. I have 4x times 1x squared. That's going to give me 4x to the 3rd. Then 3x times 4x, that's going to give me 12x squared. And then 5 times 4 is going to give me a 20x. Okay, the last one, I'm doing the bottom row. So I have a -7 times 1, which gives me a -7x squared. -7 times 3x is going to give me a -21x. And then that -7 times 5 is going to give me a -35. Okay, just like before, we can combine any terms that are the same. So when I look, this one has a 3 and this one has a 3. And you're going to notice those diagonals often match up. So those ones can be combined. Same with this one. I have -7 and a 12 and a 5, and they both have x squared. So those three can match up. And then finally, these two that are diagonal, those ones just have x's on them, so those ones can match up. Okay, so I'm going to start with my highest power first, which is my 1x to the 4th, and I'm just going to keep that 1x to the 4th. Okay, if I have -7 and I add 12 to that, that's going to give me a positive 5. So -7 plus 12 is going to give me a positive 5. And then I have that other 5x squared. So 5 plus 5 is 10. They're both positive. So I'm going to say 10x squared. And then -21 plus 20 is going to give me -1x. And then I'm just going to plop that -35 on the end. And when I look, I went from my 4th power to my... Uh-oh, I missed one. I'm going to erase that a little bit. 1x to the 4th is perfect, but I missed my 4x to the 3rd plus 3x to the 3rd. Those are going to give me 7x to the 3rd. Okay, and then I have that plus 10x to the 2nd, and then minus 1x, and then minus 35. So make sure you get all your pieces. I went from 4 to 3 to 2 to 1 to my constant. All right, you have everything you need to work on number 9. If you have questions, please let us know when you are back in class.